Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the finale of, well, what has been an incredible Season 20 here in World Online Racing. In Console Tier 1, we have finally got our last track to be added to the list, and that is none other than the Austrian Grand Prix. And, well, the man alongside me, Leopard, and I had an incredible one last season in Austria, with Cameron Dowds taking victory in the end. But this season, well, it's something completely different because there's no hard compound of tyres available to you. So their cars are out on track for qualifying, but we've got a little bit of time because we can hit so many laps around this track. Leopard, well, there's a title to be decided. We've console. Well, no, let's go. Let's change it. World has been decided now. Shazoo are champions. PC Tier 2, Leo Lund is champion, and tonight, Console Tier 1. We get to crown a champion ourselves.
Yes, indeed we do. It is Tech Brutal versus Shazoo Volokongan for the title. Tech Brutal does hold the cards. He has a 16-point advantage, which is going to be quite the task to overturn. But I think if you look at what happened last season in Austria, definitely anything can happen. And if Tech Brutal gets caught on the wrong end of it, it opens the door. Obviously, with the gap being 16 points, the permutations are simple. If Volokongan doesn't finish in the top two, it is game over no matter what. How bad a race Tech Brutal has. It is an absolute necessity that Volokongan finishes inside the top two. In all honesty, realistically, I mean, that's the mathematical equation. Realistically, Volokongan needs to go back-to-back and replicate what he did last time out in Montreal and win the race if he wants to stand any chance of walking out of tonight as Console Tier 1 champion.
Does indeed, and I've just seen something incredibly difficult. Wow, that's the second car I've seen absolutely spin it at the turn 9. The Rindt corner, or Jochen Rindt corner as it's known as, but not well known as, I should say. Not many people know that one. But let's go on board with gravel. We've already spoken about how this track, you can get away with qualifying, do 2 in installation lap to go a little bit faster in that qualifying. But actually let's go on board with that. We'll have a look at the standing properly a bit later on. But if you're looking off recent form, go from round 6. Actually, Volokongan looks like the driver that could actually take it. He's only finished off the podium once, and that was in Baku, where he didn't finish in the points at all. 3 podium finishes outside of that, a second, a third, and a first, where Tech has been 2 8th place finishes, a second and a third. It's a little bit, Tech's hasn't had the rub of the green with incidents and stuff like that, but it's not going Tech's way completely.
No, it isn't. And obviously he's in a position to make quite a bit of history tonight if he can get over the line. He does have experience. We've brought up quite a bit this season. Back in season 18, he did take the Console Tier 2 championship, and that was in a final day showdown as well, albeit I think he had an even bigger margin going into that one. So Tech's got experience with getting over the line when he's in this position. It's a commanding position, but it's also it can go wrong. And that's kind of, the beauty of a final day decider. It's, no matter kind of how big the gap is, it's a final day decider. And, they often say, anything can happen in Formula 1 and in motor racing, and it often does. And if it decides to, happen on the final day, then, well, it just adds, to the drama. I mean, and even if Tech does get involved in an incident, whether it be his fault or not, doesn't necessarily mean that as, obviously tile over. It just means, we could, have a situation where he's got to, fire his way back through the field to get into position, himself. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one here in Austria. And as you mentioned, the form book does lead more in the favour of Volokongan. I mean, when you look over the course of this season, especially the second half of the season, there's been, we looked at it after Monaco and after Baku. Baku in particular, we looked at the standings and we were thinking, this is very open. All of a sudden, I mean, Tech still had a lead, but it wasn't. It's kind of like the lead he's got now. Like, it was very much, one, a big result for one of these guys, and they were going to put themselves in the conversation. In the end, when you talk about those guys who are now also in this race, going to be squabbling over third place in standings, Epic Vale, Rydal, and Brando. They weren't able to really capitalize upon, the opportunity that was there. And it was Volokongan, that is the man that has put himself in position to now go and challenge for the title.
Has indeed, Volokongan. When we started the season, there was lots of work. Obviously, words around Cameron Dowd's been going in for the championship. Obviously, he's no longer racing in Console Tier 1. There was Joe Murphy. Even Justin was kind of mentioned in it to a degree. I think even, Rydal was, and Epic Vale kind of was touted because of the strong finish to last season, or strong performances of last season. But it really wasn't mentioned about Tech. He kind of slipped under the radar, didn't he? As qualifying still going on, and we see Le Quantum up into 6th place currently. As there goes Zach Styler, who's absolutely been insane so far over the last couple of weeks on just quali pace alone. 1 lap pace, Zach Styler's been really good, and possibly one to watch next season. But going back to Tech, it wasn't very much a case of, Tech is Tech's in the chance for this title, is it?
You wouldn't have put him as favourite, would you? And that's no disrespect, to Tech Brutal. But judging off his, season 19, you wouldn't have put him down as a favourite. Of course, he's a quality driver, and he's proven that many a time this season already. And that's why he's in the position he's in. But yeah, he wasn't necessarily, first name out of the hat, was he? So, but he's done very well, and of course, I don't think we have mentioned it yet on stream. I briefly alluded to it, that he does have a chance to make history, by being the first pad driver to ever win Console Tier 1, or even, going back to the days when it was Xbox Tier 1. Throughout all the 20 seasons, dating back all the way to the days of F1 2016, no pad driver has won the title, got it over the line. Tech Brutal has a chance to do just that tonight. I mean, he's down in 17th at the moment, so the door is somewhat looking open, but I think he's building it, easing his way into this qualifying session, and probably rightly so. After all, he is the man with the most pole positions this season. In fact, he's the only man, looking at the stats, with multiple pole positions this season.
It just shows how positive he's been this season, like pushing forward. Even, we know how good Cameron Dowds has been with 1 lap pace, and even Cameron had issues keeping Tech Brutal in check. There goes Tech throwing himself up into 3rd place. It's a wonderful lap time from Tech. But a lot of drivers at the moment doing that first install lap and then going for the 2 install laps, so to speak, to really get maximise the best out of the tyres.
Yeah, by the looks of it, that's the way they're going about it. I mean, it's taken Tech well, till just under 7 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to put, well, it was a bit long to put a time on the board, and then, yeah, obviously just now has put, you know, the main time on the board, 1 minute 3.167. And now, well, with that time, he puts pressure on Volokongen. It's going to be interesting to see how Tech kind of deals with the mentality of this all, the pressures, and kind of what kind of mindset he has. Because there's two ways of looking at this. One, you can kind of look at it in a defensive mode, like, okay, just don't lose 16 points to Volokongen here tonight, or 17, because I think you have to go and beat him, outscore him. I think Tech has count back. If that eventuality does occur, but you can kind of be on the back foot, that kind of defensive mindset of, and maybe he'll end up driving a bit tighter, with a bit of caution about it. So at the end of the day, he only needs to finish in a certain position, and judging off the way he's driven all season, it'll be fairly achievable for Tech Bruce. I'm not sure what that position is actually, but I think is it fifth? Is it a top 5 that rule? No matter what Volokongen does, seals it for Tech Brutal.
Yeah, P5 for Tech will mean he is champion.
Yeah. So it's a top 5 that puts it completely out of reach for Volokongen, no matter what happens. Anything lower than a P5, i.e. P6 or lower, then the door is open. So that's what we're dealing with. But just briefly back onto the mentality side of it. Obviously, yeah, I've been mentioning he could drive cautious, tight, maybe, feel that pressure, or he could just drive freely and say, "Hey, Volokongen, you're the one that needs to outscore me. I just need to do my thing, and you don't, it's not just they have to outscore me. You pretty much have to go and win the race. So as long as I just do my thing, I'll probably be all right." It'll be interesting to see, how he goes and approaches it. Does Tech. And right now, well, if you look at qualifying at the moment, it's definitely, in the championship leader's favour. And yeah, I mean, just to mention that pole star I mentioned earlier about he's the only one with multiple pole positions. Those that have taken pole this year: Joe Murphy took a pole position, Nalgio took a pole position, Ryder Dahl's taken a pole position, Cameron Dowds has taken a pole position. The other 5 have come from Tech Brutal. That's how dominant he's been over one lap this season, and that's probably been quite the factor, in where he's been able to put himself at this moment in time.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job over one lap, has Tech Brutal, which is definitely a factor to why he is still in the championship lead, and probably one hand on the championship as we speak, but things can change very, very quickly here. He's currently in P4. Casper Flack is just about to start a lap time. We've got 2 minutes 40 left of the session remaining, but we'll see how close it'll all be, because qualifying here, you are definitely going to be within a few hundred, well, maybe even a few thousandths of a second between your closest rival.
Yeah, just looking at the stream, you definitely weren't on board with TF10 Dirk. That's Dirk's qualifying over. That's the best lap he's gonna get, because he's just careered into the pit exit wall and damaged his front wing. So that benchmark that Dirk currently has, 1 minute 3.124, sorry, is not going to be improved upon by Dirk. So he is now a sitting duck, is the RB, the man that drove a very good race last time at Montreal before it all went wrong through no real fault of his own. The man who's currently on provisional pole. Currently's going to have to do this without a missing end plate.
Let's see what Tech can do on his probably final run. He may be able to get a second run out of that. Let's see how they go through turn 3, down the back straight towards turn 4, where we've had many an incident here. He has dropped off to do a second install lap. I'm assuming he's... well, I'm taking a wild guess and saying that Tech is not happy with something somewhere through that. Casper then going to start their final lap. So we've got Volokongan and Tech Brutal are the two drivers we are really going to want to keep an eye on in this session.
Yeah, and it is, you know, the session has flown by. We've talked a lot about, you know, the championship permutations and, you know, the kind of what the story of the season has been. I'm not sure if you've just seen that, but Alex Lofer just tying Dirk and Dirk taking it by way of setting the lap first. Brando, though. Brando, where have you been all season with pole positions like that? Hello. McLaren has come to life. The minute the title has maybe kind of, well, has become out of reach, suddenly puts onto provisional pole, does the McLaren, out of absolutely nowhere. Well then.
Belbaby has just... Belbaby has just lost it out of turn 8, so he's not going to go any faster. Casper Flack has gone through, but we will go on board with Tech Brutal, as you said, about him being down on his lap time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was down through Sector 1. Volokongan's also down in Sector 2, just up the road. As is Tech Brutal, they've not quite got the time they would want at this moment in time. They've not found the time on track. Volokongan, I think that lap is gone. That did not look committed through the final corner. The man that realistically needs to win this Grand Prix is going to be starting at best in P15, while his rival, the man who has a 16-point advantage over him, will start, by the looks of it, in P6.
Epic Vale massively down on their lap time. I think that is it for qualifying. Unless, no, Dirk won't be going any faster. Is that no front wing to Rayan Bakar? Why has Rayan Bakar got no front wing? That is insane. And that's it. That is qualifying over and done with a little bit subdued in the finale here. But it could be because our championship protagonists are 6th and 15th place for Tech and Volokongan respectively there. Brando makes it 6. 6 different pole position sitters this season, while half of the season has been solely pole for not Epic Vale, sorry, Tech Brutal. But we'll quickly go down the order. It's Tech from Dirk, Alex Lofer and Vizak on the second row of the grid. We've got Epic Vale and Tech in 5th and 6th, 7th to Lawrence, Gravroche in 8th, 9th to Casper Flack, and Shazoo Oscar in 10th. LeQuantum, Finley, Enzo, Ryderdal, Volokongan, Ryan, Rayam, It's Rappy, Hazara, and Belbelby are rounding out the remaining 10 drivers. Now, it goes to the race. And obviously, with the race, they can't use hard compound tyres. That is the thing for Season 20. That was one of the major things, other than being a surprise round every week. That was one of the main things of this season, is that we had no hard compounder tyres. And you know what? That is... We haven't seen it so much until last week, because we've had some really good wet weather changes and interchangeable conditions. But could we see it work against people tonight?
Good question. The answer to that, at least from my side, is I don't know. At the end of the day, it realistically depends on, you know, how possible it is to, you know, get a medium to the end of the Grand Prix from a certain point. That's, you know, not you're not gonna lose loads of time by having to extend ridiculously on a soft compound tire. So it'll be interesting to see what the drivers come up with. Be interesting what Volokongan comes up with from all the way back there. So yeah, I mean, realistically thinking about it, no hard tires. I mean, there's one option, which is a soft medium or medium soft, depending. If that's doable. If it's not doable, or if it's even, which it could be, Austria's not a huge pit loss delta. It's not quite as small as Canada last week, where it was a real dilemma, but it could still be a dilemma potentially here tonight. And that will all depend on how much those tires are gonna fall off, and how far they can get. I believe we're probably more looking at how far can drivers get a soft tire. I would guess as to whether it's going to be a 1 or a 2 stop.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for sure. Nathan Richards in the chat saying my PP is only 1/10 slower than Belbaby, and he's a commentator. My goodness me, that is some shade being dropped there. But let's have a at last week's race. Let's get away from the standings for just a moment, and we'll have a look at that. Volokongan and Shizu Oscar worked together quite well at the end of that race, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Oscar, they'd both gone for that 1 stop, hadn't they? And kind of benefited, especially when everyone came in for a set of soft tires at the end, when that last-minute safety car was called. They were probably more of a beneficiary of it, because they were probably set to be eaten up. I mean, Volokongan was in the process of being eaten up, and Oscar wouldn't have been far behind in that process. So yeah, but they did work together very well, especially in the start the soft stint, and right at the end, especially when it kind of everything fell into place. Remember Oscar chucking up the inside of Epic Vale at the end of the first sector, and it kind of just all slid into place. Volokongan was slide into second, and yeah, they worked together very well. Oscar didn't really challenge Volokongan going into that final chicane, probably because of the permutations on the line, and it has made it quite a bit more. I mean, so it's already going to be a tall order, but it would have been an even taller order had Oscar held on for victory, and Volokongan finished second. I mean, we'd be talking about a 23-point gap, which basically would mean that Volokongan would have to win, and Tech would have to have a complete disaster. Which, looking at this season, realistically has only happened in 2 places of that magnitude, and that was Monza in round 2 and Abu Dhabi in round 3. Beyond that, he's been pretty consistent. I mean, sure, there's the 2 8th places in Monaco and Baku. Monaco was never going to sue, and Baku he had a penalty anyway, which didn't favour him. So Tech has been a force to be reckoned with all season, and that's why he's got a 16-point gap. And, well, barring something completely drastic, it does look like he's going to hold on and become the first pad driver to win Consult Tier 1.
It does indeed. Let's go and have a look at how this calendar has been this season. We started in China when I believe it was Belbaby decided to race the first 5, 6, 7 laps on the set of hard compounder tyres. But then that's the only incident we've really had of hard compound tyres this season. Then we went to Monza. Then we had Abu Dhabi. Miami was on the 4th round of the calendar. Then we had just street circuit galore, including Miami. We went Miami, Singapore, Monaco, Azerbaijan, 4 on the bounce in the middle sector. Then, middle sector, the middle. Yeah, I suppose you could call it the middle sector of the calendar. Then there was Imola, Canada last week, which was an absolute show and a half, and then Austria to round us off. We are going to have a look at the standings one last time. Tech Brutal, 16 points in front of Volokongan for the championship. But the battle for P3 is not over. And with Brando taking pole position, he's got a chance.
Definitely. Also, we won't have... I mean, basically, all our eyes is going to be on that, battle between Tech Brutal and Volokongan. But we will have a little eye on that battle for P3, and as you mentioned, Brando has, taken his first pole of the season. Hasn't won a race all season. In fact, he had 3 podiums on the bounce, which kind of put him into this position. In Monza, Abu Dhabi, and Miami, looked like he was about to play Mr. Consistent. And then, nothing's gone his way basically ever since. And well, that's kind of why he's, slowly fallen out of this title battle, because for a lot of this season, it's been Brando that's been the one who's closest to Tech Brutal, the one within range, and it just hasn't materialized. And well, now we're in the situation we are in. Oh my!
It's raining. It's raining this season to finish. What a way to finish the season. Start as we, finish as we've had quite often this season. It's been very, very wet throughout, and now we have it to end the season. I wonder if it's going to be a little bit interchangeable conditions as well. But chat, let us know if you think there is going to be, or who you think is going to take victory tonight, and who's going to be the champion. And I mean, over to you as well, Leopard. It's kind of hard not to say Tech's going to be the champion, but for the race win, it's anyone's for grabs.
Race win is definitely anyone's. I think as far as the title's concerned, well, you have to have a lot of faith to save Volokongan in this scenario. I mean, it was a tough enough task already. It's even tougher now with that qualifying position. So, yeah, as far as the race victory is concerned, good question. I'm gonna say Brando's gonna convert from pole.
Brando to convert from pole. The chat is ignoring my question and asking me to do a funny face.
Yeah, I know, I can see that.
Wonderful. No, it's a simple answer because it'll end up everywhere.
Maybe that's how we end the season.
Maybe. But we're going to go with 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Australia for the season finale. And there we go. It's away we go for the final time in season 20. It's a good start from Brando. It's a good start from Dirk. And Alex Loafer couldn't mount a charge. And there goes Zach Styler through. Alex Loafer's dropping down the order a little bit. There goes Tech Brutal trying to get through as well. It's going to be 3 wide as they head up towards turn 3. And Tech doesn't want to get involved in too much, or otherwise things will go bad. His teammate this week is Gavroch, who's just behind him. There looks like something that's been clipped off. And through up the inside goes Tech Brutal, trying to get past Zach Styler as well. And, season 18 championship rival Epic Vale is getting involved as well. It's all over the place, but Volokongan still in 15th place.
Here he is. Oh, Epic Vale attack coming to contact midway through lap 1 of 36. The two title rivals, as you mentioned from tier 2 a couple seasons ago, come to blows, and it nearly went wrong. Tech Brutal was able to hold it, but that was very close. Too close for comfort. If you Tech Brutal, he holds on to P6 for the time being. He's got involved in a lot of battling already here on lap 1. Battling that you maybe think is not worth getting involved in. How much do you get involved in if you Tech Brutal? Now, how much risk do you take? Because no matter how far behind Volokongan is, as Volokongan makes a move up the inside into turn 1 to make a place up into P14, no matter how far back Volokongan is, if you Tech Brutal, the last thing you want to do is open the door. Here comes Lawrence up the inside of Epic Vale down into turn 3. Zach Styler on Brando as well. Dirk's going to lead this Grand Prix somewhere along the line. So Dirk looking to continue his good form from last week as well, and maybe this time actually convert it into a result. But yeah, the last thing you want to be doing if you Tech Brutal, no matter what situation you're in, is opening the door. That door right now is as good as shut on Volokongan. If Tech Brutal gets into an incident, has to pit, for a wing change, or even worse, crashes out of this Grand Prix entirely, then he's at the mercy of whatever happens. If Volokongan can make his way through, Tech Brutal won't have a say in it. So he's got to be careful still, just for a bit longer. Can't take too. Just got to play it safe for for the majority of this race, he then maybe can let loose towards the end of this Grand Prix when things are looking a bit more set in stone. But for now, P6, especially with where Volokongan is, will do just fine.
Let's have a look at the biggest winners and losers of this race so far, as Brando and Zach Styler battling away still for P2. And I think that's Lawrence getting involved as well. But Alex Lofer down 5 places. Gravroch, who was only 2 places behind his teammate for today, which is Tech Brutal, is now down 6 places, down to 14th place where Volokongan is. There goes Lawrence, I think, battling away with championship leader. And at the moment, Tech is... He doesn't want to be known for winning the championship, for finishing P6. He is fighting to get as much up the table or up the grid as he can, and it's good to see. But also, he's got to be careful, like you've been quite rightly mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what his mental state is as well. Maybe he feels comfortable just going for it. That's where he feels most comfortable. Kind of almost forgetting or just scrapping from his mind, the actual, the bigger picture, what's actually at stake, and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to drive the race as it is. It's a race. Forget what's actually at stake here. Forget the title. I'm just going to try and get the best result I possibly can in this Grand Prix, and go from there. I mean, at the end of the day, well, we'll get onto that in a bit. Here comes Epic Veil down the inside of Brando, down into turn 3. The 2 PGR drivers doing battle. Brando looks like he's got the traction on exhale, though Epic Veil's still with him. Side by side, so they're going to be side by side into 4. Brando, with a bit extra battery usage by the looks of it, keeps hold of P3 for the time being, but he does look like he might be struggling just a bit.
Just a little bit is Brando at the moment. I didn't see any front wing damage to him, but we will go on board in a moment. And I do realise I never actually mentioned who I thought I was going to take victory tonight. I'm going to back Zach Styler. Mainly because I think I forgot to mention it because everyone was asking me to do a funny face. But Volokongan has only made 2 places so far. He was up into 12th momentarily, but they've dropped back down to 30. Contact somewhere.
Brandon Epic Veil. Final corner. There is wing missing. I'm pretty sure there was carbon fibre that came flying off one of the cars. Although it was just a graphical glitch. I think that is a thing on this game. Either way, Tech Brutal's got a run now on Lawrence down into turn 3. As for Zach Styler on Dirk for the lead in this Grand Prix. Dirk defending from the Williams down into turn number 3. Anything doing for the Williams of Zach Styler. Not quite got Epic Veil and Lawrence also trading plays. There's more contacts down the 3rd DRS straight. And Tech Brutal, best seat in the house, just watches. Epic Veil covers for the time being. And Dirk is still also defending from Zach Styler.
Yeah, it's all kicking off at the moment, and this is what we like about Austria. Constant battles, constant if, buts and maybes, and with just the light rain that is hitting, it's not really... I don't want to say it's going to be close to dries, because the rain is coming down, but it doesn't look like there's any wet patches on the track. So this could be an interesting one come later in the race. But at the moment, we've got Dirk and Styler leading the way, battling away nicely, but Brando doesn't seem to be enjoying the wet very well, and Tech Brutal may have taken the last corner out a little bit wrongly because Shazoo Oscar's looking very racy behind.
Yeah, and that's I think probably for Tech Brutal, that's probably one of the last cars you want to see directly behind you, just purely because of the camaraderie between Oscar and Volokongan at this moment in time. Lawrence and Epic Veil doing battle again down into turn 3. More contact on X, and this time it has got a lot worse. Epic Veil and Lawrence into the wall. They've come together, they've collided. Didn't quite get the best view of it, and there is a safety car as well in the process. Oh boy.
No front wing for that McLaren, but Epic Veil seems to be fine. He got away very lucky with that one. I had a re-look. I don't know what happened. There was, unfortunately, from the stream's view, there was a car blocking the view, so I couldn't see if there was any turning or anything. That's an odd one.
Yeah. It looks like a bit of a racing incident in a sense. On first view, I'm looking at it again. I mean, actually, I say that, yeah. They're just seeing it now. Lawrence maybe loses traction a bit. wouldn't say Epic Veil's the one at fault, that's for certain, in that scenario. I'm not going to say Lawrence is either, but, well, we'll get onto that in a bit, because there are slick tyres coming on right now. Volokongen, I think, might have been held in the pit stops a bit. Is there an Aston Martin ahead of him?
I tell you someone who has been held, and that's Brando, because Brando's behind Tech Brutal.
Yes, Tech's up to third out of all this. So try and get the tyres. Brando's put on another. That's interesting. Are you seeing that? There's a lot of things that I'm seeing here. For stars, Zach leads the Grand Prix on a set of inters. Brando's in fourth on inters. Epic Veil's in inters. Ryan and Gavrock are on intermediates as well.
And Lawrence is on hards.
Yeah, that's the other one I was going to mention.
It stopped raining, so it's either they're hoping for a quick safety car in and out. They build a little bit of a gap.
Oh!
Or
That was tight. Stars was on board with Lawrence, nearly careered into the back of Bumblebee.
fair enough.
Sorry, continue. As you were.
They're either hoping for a quick safety car, but it looks like Zach is going into the pits.
Yeah.
Zach is going into the pits. They know they've made a mistake, or whether the games didn't do it. Let's have a look at Lawrence, see if Lawrence pits.
Continues.
So that's, if I remember rightly,
Uh-oh.
15 seconds. But we'll wait and see. Under the safety car, it might get removed. Who knows?
That depends how many laps he does on those hard tyres and under green flag. I'm surprised he hasn't come in now.
Yes, so am I. Unless, well, no, let's not go there. But Tech Brutal is now into second place of this Grand Prix with Dirk leading the way. Dirk, after an unfortunate, probably should have been a race victory last time out. He was really good, but then things just hit the fan in quite spectacular fashion.
Yeah, it was. Well, you summed it up perfectly, didn't you? It was quite spectacular, wasn't it? The way it all unfolded in Montreal last week. And yeah, he is in a position again where he's fighting at the front. You know, one of the drivers certainly in the conversation for race victory. Well, he's more than within conversation. Obviously, he's leading the whole thing now. He was the one who was kind of doing a lot of chasing me on that two-stop throughout most of last week. Now, it's a level playing field, and yeah, he's now got the lead of this Grand Prix. If you take Brutal, obviously that's a phenomenal position to find yourself in P2. I mentioned earlier, still has Oscar behind him, which, you know, won't fill him with a huge amount of confidence. That's not to say, you know, Oscar's a liability. It's
He's just quick.
to say that one, quick, and two, in the Volokongen camp, that is for certain. You know, he's not going to do anything completely daft. At least we hope not. But he's certainly not going to make it easy for Tech Brutal, and that's kind of the last thing you want in this situation. Then again, being up in P2, being that far, like, inside the top 5, you could maybe say, you know what, I don't need to, you know, fight this. You can just go. Let's just see what happens there. Safe car in this lap, and I'll just before we get going, a brief update. Obviously, you know, Tech Brutal's up to P2. Volokongen himself up to P9. He's into the points. He's slowly making his way through this pack. Obviously, now he's basically within the... Well, it is all just one train, so he's there. There's a few cars in between himself and Tech at this moment in time. But if he gets a good restart, he's going to put himself in conversation for what he needs to do, which is win this Grand Prix.
See when Dirk decides to go, because, well, he's decided to go early and it's not really caught anyone out. They've all kept with him quite nicely through that. Maybe Alex Lofer was caught a little bit, but Casper is on a set of softs through all this as well, and so is Finley. They're the only two that have risked that. Wonder when or how much further they will push. I'm pretty certain they've got to pit again. Probably for another set of medium compounded tyres, but we'll have to wait and see. To the leaders, though. Brutal trying to keep Oscar behind. Oscar does have a little feint to the inside, but he's got to keep Alex Lofer and Casper for company behind. Casper decided to go to the outside of turn 3, and that was a very good move to get himself up into P4, and that is exactly what Casper needs to do on those soft compounded tyres to make himself a nuisance.
Yeah, but he needs to attack right about now, and he's doing just that. Casper up to P4, and he'll now set about going after the top 3. Dirk a little bit wide, Tech Bruce maybe a little bit wide as well, in the middle sector as they come through turn 6. Oscar's got to run. Oscar looks like he's got confidence. He's had confidence through the last couple of rounds, has the Shazoo driver, and it looks like he's got confidence here again. There's a bit of there's a flow to the way he's driving. He's hitting his markers. He's got, as I said, he's got confidence. He's carrying corner speed. Everything just seems to be working for the Mercedes right now. Just watching the way he's driving the car. But now DRS is enabled, and now Tech could be going. Well, he's going for the championship. This Tech Bruce in this race. Is he going for the leaders Grand Prix? Casper Flack's going for P3. That is a dive and a half in the end. Nothing too crazy in the end, just so much more grip and so much lay on the brakes. Is Tech going for the move into 4? No, he is not. Casper defending from Alex Lofer into 4. Contact further back.
Enzo clipping the back end of Ryder Dahl. It looked like he tried to go for a late move up the inside of turn 4, and the cap was always going to close, and that Alpine has dropped down a few positions. Volokongen has also gone down to 10th place, mind you, still in the points, but behind the soft runner of Finley.
Yeah, Finley got him on the safety car restart, just that extra grip, softer tyres. Kind of easy to imagine how that one occurred. Oscar has again got a run on Tech Brutal. Well, he got such a run, he clipped the back of him, and Tech Brutal's car was slightly unsettled on the exit of the final corner. And again, Tech Brutal, not a lot of confidence through turn 1. He is vulnerable to the Mercedes of Shazoo Oscar. Down the DRS straight we go. Oscar's looking for a move. Is he looking for the lead this Grand Prix potentially in the process? No, backs out of it for the time being. Casper's doing battle with Alex Lofer and Ryder Dahl further back. But Oscar looks like he's got a lot of pace in that Mercedes to maybe go for a move on Tech Brutal down to 4, but again, nothing doing. Doesn't fancy it quite just yet.
Ryder Dahl getting through past Alex Lofer, trying to force his way back onto the racing line. That might anger me if I was the driver, but there goes Enzo, and Finley is just keeping battling away for P8, but we've got to stay on board with Tech Brutal because the championship leader, possibly the champion-elect, is looking really unsettled in second place. And going back to your point earlier on, like saying about Shazoo Oscar being in the same camp as Volokongen and not going to be, don't think he's going to be dirty or anything like that. I completely agree. We've not seen anything this season from Oscar to say that he would do anything like that. Which is great to see. I think Oscar's just here to take victory. His season hasn't gone completely how they would have liked it, so he's going to go and try and take victory.
It's going to get tight.
This is going to be tight into turn 3. Side by side between the three of them effectively, just in a weird Tetris-style way, but at the moment, Tech Brutal can't find a way past Dirk. Now, here he goes. He's got the overspeed on this occasion, down into turn 4, and takes a lead for the first time of this Grand Prix.
Tech Brutal, championship leader. Is he going to be world champion? Well, we're about a third of the way through this Grand Prix, and now he has just hit the front of the Austrian Grand Prix himself. And he's also, all of a sudden, looking very comfortable. It's that strong, he's pulling a gap, isn't he? That's half a second already since hitting the front for Tech Brutal. He was looking unsettled there in P2. Now he's got clean out on that front wing. He's almost threatening to check out. I mean, he won't because the DRS is ridiculously overpowered. But nevertheless, all of a sudden, I mean, Well, that's what the leading the Grand Prix can do. If you massive snap of oversteer though through turn number 1, I think everything back. He is still not looking quite as settled as he maybe wants to be. And is Dirk going to be the one to take advantage once again down to turn number 3? No, nothing doing. There is going to be fireworks further behind into turn number 3. And everyone is just going to have to try and figure the way, figure out how best we can get through this pack without getting to any massive contact. Quantum and Casper threatening to make contact. Look, Quantum's later on the brakes. Down into turn 4. He's going to move Casper onto the curb. They hook tyres. They're into the gravel. Are they going to come into contact? The Quantum is off into the gravel. And again, just a racing instant. Two drivers, doing battle as hard as they can. And it goes a little bit too far. One could argue, a little bit too much argy-bargy. And just like that, the Quantum is down into 19th.
Absolute crazy.
Indeed, how quickly it can change. Volkong in the process of all that, up into P7. And still within that DRS train, most importantly, at this moment in time. If that gap grows any bigger, Zach Styler's down to, of course, he had to, I was about to say, what's happened to Zach Styler, but of course, scrap that in a bit, because we've got battle further up. Oscar to the inside of Dirk into turn 3. Oscar takes 2 for 1, Tech Brutal down to P3 in the process. I don't think we're going to be able to talk much about situations. I think it's just going to be utterly gung-ho for the rest of this Grand Prix, like it is now. Brutal back up the inside of Oscar down into turn 4, and they're going to be still side by side on the exit of turn 4. Dirk boxing Oscar in, and now they're going to be side by side through the middle sector. Tech on the outside of Dirk. Eventually, Dirk has the line and reclaims the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. And Ryder Dahl, a once title contender, is now going to fancy getting involved in this battle for the lead.
Yeah, he's getting very close to the back of Oscar, isn't he? It's all kicking off. It's some great racing, majority great racing, and Le Quantum has retired, unfortunately, from this one. And no way back. And here comes a 2 wide up into turn 1. And look, that's Ryder Dahl up into second place. That's going to allow Shizou Oscar to have a run on Tech Brutal. And that's Tech Brutal down to 4th place, possibly even 5th place, with Alex Lofer getting involved. Tech has just been barged down, and it's 3 wide into turn 3.
It is indeed. Tech forced out wide. Ryder Dahl just forced it to fit, just decided to just be as low on the brakes as possible, and just stuffed up the inside, not just of Oscar, but of Tech Brutal as well. Now Tech Brutal really is on the back foot. He's up the inside in the process of Alex Lofer. Down to turn 4, he takes one of those positions back, and Enzo wants to get involved as well. Further behind, Volkongen has just got a front row cinema ticket to it all, down in P7, and suddenly his title rival is in sight for the Shizou driver. Meanwhile, there's been more battling going on between the front 3 as well, I think, between Ryder Dahl, Oscar and Dirk. Goodness me, Austria is delivering once again.
That is indeed correct. And you know what? Oscar found it difficult to get past Tech Brutal, but when Ryder Dahl joined, it was a little bit of a shove off the road. So Tech might be a little bit aggrieved by that one, but it allowed Shizou Oscar through, and Shizou Oscar maybe can have a look at Dirk and take the lead of this Grand Prix. Let's see what happens when they go to turn 3. He has a look to the inside, nothing doing on this occasion, but really you want to make the overtake into turn 4.
Yeah, purely because there's that second detection zone, isn't there, which just resets everything. So you've got to kind of play cards right. Volkongen fancying a move on Enzo. Is he? Enzo to the very late on the brakes, down into turn 4. Volkongen can't get by, but he's going to think about a move into the middle sector. Is he? He's going to have to commit, is he? No, Enzo's going to be the one to commit down the inside into turn 6 on Alex Lofer. Through the middle sector, side by side between the pair. Contact. Volkongen's got to be careful. He picks his way through nicely. Does the Aston Martin. Enzo got a bit too excited, a little bit too eager to make moves. And just like that, he's down to P9. Volkongen up to P6. That's another position ticked off. And well, as you know, if you're Volkongen, that's all you can ask for. You're in the fight. It's a big one, so things can happen, will happen. Whilst he won't be happy that Tech is still ahead of him, it is possible things could go his way.
Could do. You've got to be in it to win it, and at the moment he's in it. Shizou Oscar takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and just like a few laps ago with Tech Brutal not really wanting Shizou Oscar behind, Volkongen probably doesn't want Zach Styler behind, because Zach continually, week in, week out, proving to be a very, very solid driver. And maybe next game we'll see a title fight between Zach Styler and Shizu Oscar. Because really, the highlights of the last couple of weeks, we've said their names countless times with the action that they are putting on show. Dirk really struggling at the moment to keep with Shizu Oscar. Maybe being in all this battling has cost them a little bit of confidence. And Ryder Dahl looking like he's going to make a move sooner rather than later. But also Tech struggling at certain points on this track as well. No one really looks comfortable.
But maybe the man out in front.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to see like I was favouritism to either him or Zach Styler, because they're the only two that really look comfortable.
Yeah, it's the way it is. Well, we'll get onto that in a bit. Speaking of Dirk, right around the outside of Oscar into turn 3. So Dirk retakes the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Volkongen has actually been doing battle with Zach Styler down to 3, and that didn't look necessarily the tidiest on exit. Zach Styler to the outside of turn 4 is Volkongen. Well, he's going to try and move onto the curb. Can't do it well enough, and Zach Styler as a result will have the inside through the middle sector. Volkongen's going to try and hold it around the outside. Don't want to come into contact at this stage. And, well, very well, manages to hold it around the outside. Does Volkongen. And I think if you Volkongen, you kind of want to go on the attack and try and get past Alex Lofer and just put a car between yourself and Zach Styler. Because if there's one thing we've seen from Zach, he's not shy.
Definitely not shy, and Epic Vale had the best seats in the house there, and here comes Epic Vale trying to get away through. Epic Vale, could have been in the contention for the championship lead, has pulled races back from the brink of despair to win, starting 20th, and he's taken a victory. But just ahead, Alex Lofer looks like they're going to get past Tech Brutal, and Volkongen all of a sudden has his championship rival right in front of him, battling away with Alex Lofer, who, by the way, who dropped down a few positions from the start, is doing really good at the moment, holding up with a lot of these top drivers and has made a move on the championship leader.
Goodness me, that was tight down for Epic Vale. Zach Styler doing battle. I think Brandon was involved as well. And now it's going to be Zach and Epic Vale doing battle in the middle sector. Volkongen nearly was collecting the process. Just about able to avoid it. Zach Styler forces his way to keep ahead of Epic Vale through the middle sector. But it's getting very racy, and well, would you look at that? P5, championship leader, Tate Brutal. P6, championship rival, Shizu Volkongen. They are now sharing the exact same piece of tarmac here on lap 21 of 36. Of course, it's still very much in Tate Brutal's favour. Heavily in Tate Brutal's favour, in fact. But things can change quickly. And with how close everybody is to each other, and more importantly, how close Volkongen is to the lead this Grand Prix, it's, for Tate Brutal, it's far from over, far from done. If you Volkongen, there's definitely a chance, not only to get into the lead this Grand Prix and win it, but also with the amount of cars around and in play at this moment in time, plenty of chance for Tate Brutal to fall outside of that, kind of safety bracket that he has, which is a top 5 finish.
With the likes of Ryan Quantum, though, out of this race, that is taking a few of the quickest drivers away, or consistent drivers away from taking positions away from Tech Brutal, and Volkongen if the other side of the camp as well. But Ryder Dahl, I know we said we wouldn't say too much about the interlinking battles throughout the standings as well, but currently leading the way for P3 by being in P3.
Yeah, I mean, his main two rivals for that are P8 and P9 at the moment, but they are also in this train. In fact, they are literally the last two remaining cars in this train. So it is a 9-car train for the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. We have Dirk, Oscar and Ryder Dahl all doing battle for P3. I think Volkongen has pulled up the inside of Tech Brutal, by the way. Indeed he has. Volkongen for the first time in this Grand Prix. They started so far apart. Now Volkongen is ahead of his championship rival. And well, I mean, it's not going to happen like this because that's far too simple. But if Volkongen were to make his way past Alex Lofer, Ryder Dahl, Oscar, Dirk, with Tech Brutal not getting past one of those either, Volkongen would be champion. Tech Brutal is in a bit of a danger zone. He's in a... It's not safe with a P6. The door's now open. It looked close for so long, but it is now massively open the door for Volokongan to maybe, just maybe, pull off the impossible.
This is going... there is an undercut possibility. Brando and Epic Vale deciding to pull the trigger and go on to a medium. There is 16 points between Volokongan and Tech Brutal. For the lead of the race, it's now Oscar and Dirk fighting away with Ryder Dahl trying to get involved again with Alex Lofer there as well. It is still all to play for in this championship. If it stays as it is, however, it will be Tech Brutal's championship. Up the inside, a little bit on the Williams though, is Alex Lofer. It's not happening. And something that we don't have, I might have to message Luke about a championship just in case things go the other way. I don't think I've got a graphic for a certain driver, but we won't go there just yet. Just don't want to jinx it in any way, shape or form. But Ryder Dahl into the pits, Alex Lofer, and just behind, I think, who else is that joining? That is Zach Styler deciding to join in the pits. The others going longer.
Indeed they are. The question is, oh dear, that's not great news as far as your question is concerned, Gareth. Yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, my question right now, well, we'll get onto that a bit again, because Oscar is doing battle with Dirk and Ryder Dahl side by side down to turn 3. Oscar and Ryder Dahl go either side of Dirk down to 3. Now they're doing side by side on the exit of turn number 3. Who's got the drive? Who's got the run between the two of them? Is Ryder Dahl versus Oscar down into turn number 4. Oscar's later on the brakes, and well, that's very well done. Spot his braking point perfectly. Did Shazoo Oscar laid over the top of Ryder Dahl. Beautiful from the Mercedes driver. My question right now regarding strategy, are these, they've gone quite a bit longer. Is that for fresh tyres, or are they going to try and go to the end? We're going to find out. Well, looking at, oh no, some dummies being thrown. Ryder Dahl bites the bullet, takes the bait. Ryder Dahl a couple laps later than a couple of the others, bails into the pit lane. I would be shocked if a few of these are staying out completely and utterly till the end of this Grand Prix. Or are they going to wait for softs?
Or are they going to do the Jarno Opmeer strategy, which is go in and have those tyres, even though they're medium, they're going to be so better at the end. We see it time and time again, where the fresher tyres, they can just reel in other drivers, especially with the last 4 laps to go, and they're just able to make moves. Epic Vale and Hazara swapping places. Enzo and Casper swapping places. So Enzo is at the lead of that train, by the way. It's Rappy, unfortunately, is in the middle of nowhere. Let's have a look at the time to the leaders. It is 15 seconds between Casper and Shazoo Oscar. Let's see what these drivers do, because this is a very, very entertaining situation to be in. None of them pitting? None of them pitting.
No, I think they've got to be staying out, surely. Surely that's them staying out and going to try and make it to the end. They'll look to their tyre wear, they'll have taken a very good look at their tyre wear and thinking, you know what, I reckon staying out is the best port of call here. Volokongan to the outside, he's been boxed in by his teammate of all people. Volokongan then switches to the inside of Shazoo Oscar. A little bit of contact. They've been battling on the exit. Oscar eventually concedes. Not completely smooth, but smooth enough, one could argue. And is Volokongan now going to go for the lead this Grand Prix? No, he's not. Not just yet, says the Aston Martin. What is intriguing of those that have come in, and I think, at least I completely missed, the likes of Casper and Enzo, Belwellby, all came in so much earlier that they are in this battle with the likes of Epic Vale and Brando. They put themselves, alongside them on this 2-stop strategy. And if, any of these top 4 do come in, which they're not, they all stay out once again, that, they are going to be, part of that train that they'll join in. But I don't think they are going to be joining it. They'll be defending from it, by the looks of it, at this moment in time. Let's get a gap to leader up as we can. 12.5 seconds I saw briefly before Rappy came in, who also picks up a penalty for his troubles. Volokongan into the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. In fact, he's done that already, hasn't he? I've just watched it back on the stream, so I've completely missed that. Apologies. But yeah, Volkongen defending then from Dirk. And yeah, the Aston Martin does have the lead. He now just needs to hope. Tech Brutal falls 2 positions.
Tech does not look comfortable in 4th place, struggling to keep to the back end of the leaders here. It's 10 seconds between himself and Enzo in 5th. This isn't over yet. This really isn't over yet. 10 seconds in 10 laps, that's a second a lap pretty much right now. It's going to be difficult, but when these tyres start dying for Volkongen, Dirk, Oscar and Tech, they're going to die.
Yeah, and obviously that figure is assuming that there's not more drop-off from these medium tyres, and gosh, it would almost be poetic, or maybe not poetic, that's probably the wrong word for it, but ironic maybe, that over the years one of the pad's major downfalls has been tyre wear or performance on dying tyres. How many times have we heard that over the years for pad drivers? And if that's what ends up costing Tech Brutal, because he's the most vulnerable out of any of these 4, he is easily the most vulnerable. You can see he's not quite as far on the back of them, as far on the back of Oscar as Oscar is to Dirk, or Dirk is to Volkongen. He is the most vulnerable if anything does happen. And well, his tier 2 tyre rival from a couple seasons ago is now the one officially giving chase. It's Epic Vale. It's under 9.5 seconds. Scrap that. It's 9 seconds. Oh my.
It is really, really close. Let's have a look at the leader gappers again. Epic Vale is 10 seconds behind Volkongen, and the front runners not swapping positions anymore either. That's something else to keep an eye on as well, and we wonder if Epic Vale will work with the likes of Brando and Enzo to push it through. But all of a sudden, Epic Vale is now the driver that is leading that battle for P3. We've got Ryderdal out of the points and Brando 2 positions behind. So Epic Vale, king of the comebacks maybe, is currently in a good way.
He's in a good position. 9 seconds, of course. Well, it's kind of like a split, isn't it? You got the kind of the first half of the lap, where the gap almost, at the very least, stabilises between himself and Tech Brutal, by way of Tech Brutal being the one in a DRS train. He's got that kind of free time he's gaining by being in the DRS. But Epic Vale gains so much more through the middle and last sector, gap down to 8 seconds, and that's just by just the tyre grip. He's got the confidence. He's got Dirk moves into the lead of the Grand Prix here on lap 30 of 36, with the gap coming down between Tech Brutal and Epic Vale, minute by minute. Although Enzo going to the inside isn't going to be doing anyone too many favours, as is Brando to the inside of Epic Vale, so they're going to have to get on with it. Whatever they do here, it's got to be streamlined. It's got to be almost perfect. Brando now pulls the pin himself, and he wants to now lead this train to try and reel in the leading 4.
He was the quickest in qualifying.
It's going to be so tight as to whether they catch him or not. And what's going to be even more interesting is Tech Brutal is the one the most vulnerable. WR saying Vola needs to back them up. The only thing I'd say to that is if Volkongen backs them up, then he becomes vulnerable as well, because if you look at the tyre difference, he's not going to have much to defend with, no matter how powerful DRS is, I would say. I would say this title could hinge on Tech staying within DRS of these 3.
Yeah, if
he falls out of it, he's going to be incredibly vulnerable.
He is indeed. Enzo then takes the lead of this second train. We won't bother about that first train for a little while, because it's 7 seconds now between Epic Vale and Tech Brutal, as Brando trying to get through as well on Enzo, and has done. But the squabbling is slowing them down a little bit. It's costing them. It's 6.8 seconds. This could be the downfall to this second trail, whatever you want to call it, of cars, because they're squabbling like school children, really, and they're running out of laps.
Yeah, Epic Vale kind of needs a gap almost, or Brando kind of needs to back the likes of Enzo up to kind of, if they want to work together, because right now, because the DRS is so powerful that he can't do anything but overtake to kind of keep things rolling. But at the same time, you'd probably argue it's one of these two PGR drivers that has the chance to go and reel in those leading four. Volkongen and Dirk doing battle on it. Well, if you follow Kongen at this point, I don't think you really care how much time you lose. Doing battling, gap under 6 seconds. It's lap 32 and 36. That gap is going to have to come down at quite a bigger rate. There has been contact though. Hazara's in the wall. It's a virtual safety car, which if you take Brutal,
lifeline.
It's pretty good news.
Absolute lifeline for Tech Brutal. Absolute heartbreak if you follow Kongen and PGR Brando and PGR Epic Vale, because they're the drivers that have been halted in their charge, and they've got to make sure they get this safety car restart, a virtual safety car restart, absolutely spot on, and hope that Tech doesn't. Hope that those front four doesn't, or otherwise their chances are over. It's 4 laps remaining here. They can see the other cars just ahead up the hill into turn 1 as they exit turn 10. Zach Styler out of this race, retiring, and that's a shame to see. But we're back racing again, and it's 5.1 seconds between Brando and Tech Brutal. I think it's too little too late.
It depends. It really depends on... In terms of things happening naturally, I would say so. But things could happen. 4.5 seconds is the gap. It now depends what Volkongen wants to do. It depends, potentially, on what Oscar wants to do. Because Volkongen's got control of this race, it feels like, at the front. Barring Dirk, I'm pretty sure Oscar is not going to get involved into the battling Volkongen for victory. What Oscar might do is try and back Tech Brutal up into Epic Vale and co. There will be 3 laps to go. The gap is 4 seconds, and it is coming down. And Tech Brutal is slowly losing that DRS. It's 9/10 of a second. He's thankfully, for Tech Brutal's sake, got a lot of battery to use up to stay there. But are those tyres dying? That's the other question we've got. Is Tech suffering a bit more than the 3 ahead of him? Is he giving a gap? Who knows? Brando back up into P5, Ryder Dalscott back up into P6. 3.5 seconds is the gap. Volkongen still leads the way. It's gonna be tight. It might end up being too little too late. Ryder Dahl, the man who has the freshest tyres out of anybody, that'll be interesting. See how much he can reel in. 2.5 laps remaining of season 20.
It's been maintaining just that 1 second advantage when the race runs out, which I think is that virtual safety car problem for and perfect for Tech Brutal. But obviously Tech is trying to race his own race, doing maybe a bit of battery saving, maybe trying to false sense of security, but he's playing a very, very dangerous game with 2.6 seconds between himself and Tech Brutal with 2 laps remaining. 3-second penalty for Enzo. This is the final throes of season 20. Volkongen has done what he needs to do from 15th to 1st. Currently, Vidal is overtaken by both Brando and Epic Vale there for P5, and it's 2.6 seconds still between themselves and Epic Vale.
Indeed it is. Tech's using a lot of battery just to stay there, by the way. Just began to notice it. Lap 35 and 36, gaps under 2 seconds. It's going to be closing all the way, but it might just be too little too late. It depends how much tyre Tech has got left. Has he got enough to stay there? Has he got enough to fight everybody off? Has Volkongen got enough of a gap to try and keep hold of P2? What do you do if you Shazoo Oscar in this scenario? 1.5 seconds is the gap. They're not going to have DRS just yet, but they could well be there. They could well end up... Oh my goodness me, it's going to be so tight.
This is absolutely insane. What a way to end the season. We got to go on board with Tech Brutal. The championship champion-elect, in quotation marks, is 1.0 seconds pretty much between himself and BGR Brando as they head up the hill into turn 3. Is it going to be enough of a gap between them to stop the DRS? Oh my god, it's 3 wide behind as well between them. That could have just saved Tech Brutal's championship out of all this. Those 3 squabbling away. It's back up to 1.4 seconds. We're on the final lap here of season 20. The absolute finale. Tech Brutal, and it just seeing all the carnage unroll behind him. He's got a puncher. Tech Brutal, championship over. Oh my goodness me, back to the leaders. Is there anything further on the other cars? Volokongan leading the way at the moment, coming through the final throws. Tech Brutal is out. His championship is over. Holy goodness of Mother of Mary, whatever, I don't know. But Volokongan's coming around the corner. He's gonna win. He's gonna take the championship. Volokongan is season 20's WR Console Tier 1 champion in a absolute spectacular fashion. And Tech Brutal, heart goes out to him. He's not even finishing in the points. He tried. He did something. But my God, Volokongan, out of nowhere, it seemed, from the start of qualifying to now, wins season 20.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless. I cannot believe what I've just seen. I cannot believe that. The final lap of season 20. I mean, we literally said a quarter earlier with those doing battle behind that was that. They'd blown the opportunity to get to the leading quartet. A quarter later, the rear left tyre of Tech Brutal gives way and gives way in the process to his title dreams. And Volokongan was in position to take full advantage.
Wow. 77% tire damage, tire deg on Tech's car caused that damage. Caused that puncture. Volokongan, Dirk, and Oscar are your podium sitters. Epic Vale, Brando, Ryderdal, Alex Lofer, Belbelby, Casper Fleck, and Enzo Sabaton outside, rounding out the points finishing here. Gravroch, Tech, Rappy, and Hazara rounding out the finishes with non-finishes for Zach, Ray and Bakar, Finley, Ryan, LeQuantum, and Lawrence. And I feel like I kind of jinxed with the whole not having a graphic for this. But Volokongan, what a race. Well, Austria provides again, but my God, I feel so sorry for Tech Brutal. I don't know if I was going to say, I don't know if I've just lost LCR Leopard to his head in his hands about what we've just seen, because my goodness me, that what a way to end season 20.
I mean, that is one of the most dramatic ends to a season I think I've ever seen. Like, yeah, I am genuinely speechless. It's, as you said, it is so unlucky for Tech Brutal, especially given the percentage it's gone at. Yeah, I cannot believe that.
There's no words.
I cannot believe that.
There's no words, and
yeah, there is no words to kind of that will justify or, you know, properly sum up what has just unfolded. Like, yeah, that is. Yeah, I'm genuinely lost for words. Genuinely.
Oh,
Oh, I'm about to send you an image, Gareth. That's literally me right now. Um,
okay. Fair, fair.
that's me right now.
Hopefully we're gonna get Volokong, or at least, you know, I'd love to have Tech come in here and have his thoughts and anything like that. But I don't know if we're gonna get anyone. To be honest, I'd love to get Volokongan. If Volokongan is available, please jump yourself into the interview screen. But poor Tech, I don't know what I would be if that had just happened to me. I'm not sure how I would feel. Have you, in your racing career, has anything like that has happened to you for a leopard in any of the leagues you've been in?
Um, there's only really one that comes to mind. It was ILR back on F1 2017. It was penultimate round in Brazil. It was me, Danny M7, and Tyrrell Martin battling for the title, and Martin was, in the lead the Grand Prix and was set to wrap up the title with a race for spare. And on lap 35 or 36, he gets a puncture, and it just throws it all up in the air and goes to Abu Dhabi. And in the end, it was Danny that took the title. But the beyond that, I don't, that was a lap and a half away from title glory. This was half a lap away. This was 30 seconds away from title glory. And it's all come crashing down. I mean, we were saying that, Tech wasn't looking comfortable on those medium tires, especially, towards the end he was dropping off the back and, he nearly lost DRS. He was potentially the one who was struggling the most out of that four. And I guess given the amount of laps they'd done, it could have been a possibility, but you wouldn't have thought it would happen. It seemed impossible to happen like that.
Was it a mistake not pitting? I know in hindsight it's very easy to say yes and no and whatnot, but with all the others,
it's a good question. I mean, obviously the pro off paying would have been, obviously takes punctures out of the equation. The con of it all would have been he would have been in that fight, and he would have been also in jeopardy. When you look at those he was racing with, at the end of the day, in that kind of chasing train, if he wasn't one of those leading two, he was out of position. Whereas in this scenario, all he had to do was get it to the end. But yeah, I mean, he would have had probably more work to do in a sense. He'd have had to do more, more battling. You'd have had to fight, especially with Epic Vale and Brando and Ryder Dahl. And that could have all gone wrong. He was you can maybe argue it comes down to what we were saying at the start of the stream. How is Tech going to approach this race mentally? And when you're in this position where you got the title on the line, you're very much in control of it with a race to go. How do you approach it? Because at the end of the day, naturally, you don't need to take as much risk. You don't need to go and send it down the inside into turn 3 or turn 4 to, grab P3 or whatever, or even a race victory. You just need to do enough to get it over the line. And enough would have been, P4 or P5, and it might have just been the case of what's going to be the most stress-free situation out of the two. And you could argue, especially, we've seen it time and time again, these guys, they don't pull their punches, they're feisty. Everyone's feisty here in Console Tier 1. And incidents can happen. And, if Tech puts himself in that position where he makes that second stop, he puts himself in a position for that incident to occur. Whereas if he's on the back of this train just chilling, getting DRS, being dragged along, then he's out of harm's way. Yeah. You probably put it best. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, really, isn't it? Because it was, in the end, the difference between the two was so tight. Literally, another lap, and that chasing pack would have been there. And throughout all of it, he was the most vulnerable to being overtaken. So, I mean, maybe he could have put one on Oscar and try to, pull some mass tire saving there, and just put another car so he's not the most vulnerable. He's not the first car that chasing train gets to. Oh no, it's just incredibly it's such a devastating way to lose the title. It's, well, not just an incredibly devastating way, probably the most devastating way you could lose a title.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. But we do have, hopefully, Volokongan can hear us. But we do have Volokongan, our current, well, unless there's any reports. I haven't seen any reports come in yet, but our current champion of Season 20, Volokongan, please say you can hear us.
Hello, I can hear you.
Brilliant. Well, Volokongan, congratulations on your championship. It's been, a hard-fought season, definitely a hard-fought race. Just talk to us about how you feel right now.
I'm quite happy. I can't quite believe what happened. I was, the most lucky I have ever been, and Tech was probably the most unlucky he has ever been. So I feel sorry for him. I really do.
With 2 laps remaining, you're in the lead of the race. The cars are catching up behind that are pitted. I mean, firstly, why didn't you pit with everyone else? Was it always kind of your strategy with your engineer to do it that way? And B, when that virtual safety car came out, did your heart sink a little bit thinking that that second group wouldn't catch you in time?
I don't remember the first question, but the plan was always to try to stay out. I needed to do something different and to try to win the race. If I did the same as everyone else, I probably would have finished P6, P7 or something. So I was just hoping that the tires would make it, and hoping that others that did pit didn't catch us, and that's what happened. So, yeah.
Leopard, any questions for Volokongan before I ask a final one?
Well, first off, congrats. That is an incredible victory, and an incredible kind of, barring Baku, an incredible second half of the season actually to put yourself in this position. Just a couple questions. First off, after qualifying, you it's definitely not gone to plan. You're down in 15th. The rival, your tire rival's up in 6th, and obviously you basically need to win this Grand Prix to stand any chance of overturning that deficit. What are you thinking in that moment in time?
Qualifying went as expected, I would say. I've never been very good at qualifying, so P15 it's not great, but Austria is a track where a lot of things happen in the race, and you just need to keep it clean, avoid damage in turn 3 and things like that, and just take up days at a time, and suddenly I was in P1.
Yeah, you did drive an incredibly mature race, I'd say, going through the field, one by one. Again, as you said, not getting into anything crazy. Just on this, Tyrone. Obviously, you've been kind of thereabouts, on the cusp of kind of getting involved in this title fight. Obviously, for a lot of the season, it's been Brando that's kind of been the one close to Tech Brutal. What at any point, or was there any point throughout the season where you would have said to yourself that this title is on, or was that literally a case of, well, was that the case basically from last week?
After the first race, I thought this was was a little bit on because I got a podium in the first race, but after that it was I don't know, P8, P6, just some small points here and there, and I got the podium in Imola, and I got a win in Canada, and suddenly I was within reach of the title. So yeah, I never thought I was going to win it. I didn't think I was going to do it today either. But some things you can't control. You just have to do your own race and let the other things happen. That's out of your control. Like the puncture thing with Tech.
Yeah, control the controllables. Very well done. Congratulations on the Season 20 Console Tier 1 title. The wait for a pad driver to take it goes on. And Gareth, I'll leave you with the final question.
What's next, Volakongan? What's next for you? Obviously, you've been in the Console Tier 1 for a few seasons now. Finally claiming that championship. Is a move to PC, or are you just happy doing what you're doing right now?
I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now. I'm quite old compared to the other drivers, and I don't see any future for me doing much better things than I'm doing now. So I'm very happy where I am, racing PSGL on Mondays and WR on Fridays, and having fun with that.
Wow, congratulations. What a race, what a season for yourself. And well, maybe the era of Volakongan is going to kick in from this race and this championship. But you've done a fantastic race, a fantastic season, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, Leopard, what a season. Not really sure how we can round that one out, but we both mentioned, alluded to at times, but also I think the one that struck me the most is your comment about, wouldn't it be ironic if it was a puncture that cost Tech, and it's
tire related issue,
and it's come to fruition.
So am I at fault for this? Is this my fault?
Possibly. I mean, I think both of us, we both said something. Like I said that there was no graphic, and you said that.
Yeah.
So, but my God,
Gosh.
what a absolutely gutted for Tech, and I don't think we can continue saying how gutted we are. And you know what? Out of all this, completely forgot to have a look at who was the driver that claimed third. Was it Epic Vale in the end? Did Epic?
No, I can't remember. Let's have a look. Hold on. Let me scroll back and we'll see the results screen. It would have been Epic Vale that claims P3, barring Stuart's inquiries.
My goodness me. So constant, all over the place. What a race. But let's talk about at least one of the drivers that had two drivers, Dirk and Oscar, two other drivers at that top end of the field. Yep. Dirk finally, I think, putting things, stuff like that behind. Like from last week and the few weeks before, Dirk getting involved in there, Oscar just constantly doing better and better.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, Dirk, did very well to put what happened last week behind him, and he is, despite what the results screen will show us, P12 and P2. Was it P2? Yeah, it was P2 in the end. What that 12th place doesn't show was, he was probably on for, at the very least, another P2, probably a race victory. Oscar was a little bit further up the road had that safety car not come out, so that would have been interesting if Dirk could have caught him past him. And of course, Oscar has had a phenomenal end to the season himself. 3 podiums, a victory in Imola. Led most of that Grand Prix in Canada on that one stop. He's driven a brilliant race here tonight. Oscar's ended the season very well and will definitely be one to look out for next season. Of course, the dynamic shifts to more of a normal season for next season, on next game. The drivers will have time to, practice before each race, even if it's just an hour or two. And hard tires we think will be available. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll stick with this. I mean, look at. I mean, we haven't had much, evidence to show where it's really come into effect. Probably bar Montreal last week, and I think we also saw a bit in China as well in the opening round. But apart from that, there hasn't really been much of a change. Of course, a lot of that has been, down to the fact we've seen a lot of interchangeable weather conditions. But in the end, it is that, again, that rule as well. That's also, there's no other way of putting it. It's decided the championship.
It has, hasn't it? To a degree today. It's been absolutely crazy. So, for the last time of season 20, from yourself and I, any final words from you, please, Leopard?
Goodness me. I think I'll just say it's been incredible. Despite being kind of the last season of a game that I think it's safe to say not everyone has enjoyed. It's certainly not it's definitely not up there with like an F1 2020 or a 2016 or 2013 or anything like that. In terms of games, and we said it very early on, or maybe even off stream, that that this game is now all but behind us, and focus does now shift towards F1 25. But even despite that, it's been a thoroughly enjoyable season to cover. Drama left and right, especially towards the end of the season. And I'll also just say it has been a pleasure to cover it with you, Gareth. Been thoroughly enjoyable to share the commentary box with you. And we'll see if we'll be here next season.
Fantastic. Well, a pleasure is all mine. Thank you very much, Leopard, for being there as often as you have. And I know we've kind of missed each other. I think one race this season, one race last season. It doesn't happen very often. It's nice to have a constant alongside you through it all. So thank you so much for yourself as well. And thank you for everyone behind the scenes in WR as well. It's a big thank you. And the drivers and everything, they're really the ones that make it happen. And thank you for everyone that watches as well. Really appreciate that. But for now, for season 20, we are done. Shazoo took the Legacy division. Leo Lund took the PC Tier 2 division. While on console, it was victory for another Shizou driver. Vologongan took console tier 1. Well, there'll be more news on season 21 very, very shortly on socials and on the Discord. But for myself, Leopard, and everyone behind the scenes here in WOR, thank you for watching and catch you in season 21.